You've watched hundreds of hours of millionaire mindset content. You've taken notes, you've believed it, some of it genuinely moved you. And your bank account barely moved. That is not a motivation problem, that is a compatibility error. Here's what no one in the mindset space will say out loud. Most people who consume wealth content are running an operating system that was never designed to receive it. The new information doesn't stick because the system itself is rejecting it, automatically, invisibly, every single day. And until you understand what's running in the background, you can install as many new beliefs as you want. They'll be gone by morning. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why that keeps happening. And more importantly, which specific files you need to delete before any new programming can actually take hold. Stay with me because what's coming is not another list of millionaire mindset habits. It's a map of the corruption itself. Think about the last time you heard something that genuinely changed how you think about money. Maybe a concept about investing. Maybe something about how wealthy people use their time. For about 3 hours, you felt it. It made perfect sense. You could almost feel yourself becoming different. And then, slowly, without you noticing, it faded. The next morning, you made the same financial decisions you always make, because something in you scanned that new idea and quietly marked it. Threat, not real, not for you. That's not weakness, that's your operating system doing exactly what it was programmed to do. Here's the thing that changes everything about how you see your financial life. Before the age of 10, your brain was downloading, furiously, the way a new device receives its core files before it ever connects to the internet. And most of what it downloaded came from one source: the people around you, their tone when money came up, the tension that filled a room when there wasn't enough, the sentences repeated so often they stopped sounding like opinions and started sounding like facts. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people got that way by taking from others. We're not the type. Those weren't conversations. Those were installations, and they became the core files your brain uses to evaluate every financial decision you make today, right now, without your permission. Behavioral economists call them money scripts, and they're not a metaphor. They're literal programs running in your default decision-making network, firing before you're even conscious of them, before you negotiate, before you price your work, before you feel that familiar guilt when money actually starts coming in. And here is the mechanism that makes all of this so devastating. When you consume millionaire mindset content, the frameworks, the philosophy, everything you've learned about how to think like a millionaire, your brain doesn't integrate it the way you think it does. It filters it through those core files first. If the new information contradicts the root code, the system flags it as incompatible, silently. And what feels like I know this intellectually but can't seem to apply it is actually a firewall running its protocol, protecting the only version of you it has ever known. This is why the gap between knowing and doing is so brutally persistent, not lack of discipline, a compatibility error. Let me show you what those root files actually look like in real behavior, because this is where it starts to feel personal. Root file 1: money is dangerous. Not dangerous in a dramatic sense, in a quiet one. People raised around financial instability build a neural association between money and anxiety. More income means more to lose, more visibility, more responsibility. So the brain, trying to protect you in the only way it knows how, keeps you at a level that feels safe. You sabotage the raise before you even apply for it. You undercharge for your service and call it humility. You spend the windfall the moment it arrives because holding it would mean managing the threat of losing it. The wealth mindset content says, think bigger. The root file says, bigger means more danger. The firewall wins every time. Root file 2: wealth belongs to a different kind of person. Not a bad person necessarily, just not you. Different background, different education, different luck. You've absorbed the success stories. But somewhere in the architecture, a file says, that's not my category. And so every financial habit you try to build runs into an identity wall. Because your brain is exceptionally good at protecting who you believe yourself to be, even when that identity is costing you everything. This is why rewiring your brain for wealth cannot start with information. It has to start with identity. And identity is stored in code that runs much deeper than motivation. Root file 3: there is never enough. Scarcity thinking doesn't feel like a belief. It feels like reality. People running this file see every financial opportunity through the lens of what could go wrong. They study every deal until it dies. They save obsessively but can't invest. They hesitate at the precise moment action is required, not because they're not smart, but because a brain optimized for scarcity is neurologically wired to prioritize threats over opportunities. Behavioral economists call this temporal discounting. The wired tendency to take a smaller reward now over a larger one later, because the file that runs your survival instincts doesn't trust the future. That broke mindset pattern isn't a character flaw. It's a feature of software built for a world you no longer live in. Here's the moment where most content pivots to, so start doing these 5 things instead. I'm not doing that. Because giving you new habits while these files are still running is exactly the problem. That's why you've been stuck. You've been patching over corrupted code and the patches don't hold. The system keeps reverting, not because you're broken, because the architecture was never updated. The actual debug process looks like this: 3 moves. Move 1, trace the root file. Think back to the earliest memory you have involving money and discomfort, not a lesson, a moment, a look on a face, a sentence spoken in a kitchen that wasn't meant for you but landed anyway. Find the origin point, write it down. Because you cannot delete what you haven't named. That file is running right now in your pricing, your negotiation, your relationship with income. Naming it is the first real act of taking back control of your financial decision-making. Move 2, recognize the firewall in real time. Every time a wealth idea makes you uncomfortable, when you hear about someone making serious money and feel vague irritation, when you think about charging more and feel immediate guilt, when an opportunity excites you for 20 minutes and then quietly goes cold, that is the firewall activating. That discomfort is not wisdom. It is not caution. It is an old file defending its own existence. You are allowed to notice it, you don't have to obey it. Move 3, execute the contradiction. This is where the actual rewire happens, and this is the part that requires something no affirmation can provide, because it will feel wrong before it feels right. The only way to overwrite legacy code is to run the opposite command repeatedly, not as a thought, as an action. Charge the higher price even when the file says you don't deserve it. Make the investment even when the file says it will disappear. Have the conversation about money openly, even when every layer of your conditioning says it's dangerous. Each action is new data, and the brain, despite the architecture of your past, is designed to update. New neural pathways form. The old code loses its grip, not overnight, but permanently. And that is what building a real millionaire mindset actually looks like from the inside, not inspiration that fades by noon, but decisions that contradict the corruption until the corruption runs out of ground to stand on. Here's what I need you to take out of this. You are not undisciplined, you are not behind, you are not wired for mediocrity. You are running legacy code on a system that is completely capable of an upgrade, but the upgrade requires a sequence that almost nobody teaches. Debug first, install second. Every hour you spend consuming wealth content without addressing the root files is another hour the firewall runs unopposed, not neutral, active, making financial decisions for you every single day while you wonder why nothing changes. There is one more thing. The deepest root file most people never debug isn't a belief about money. It's a belief about who deserves to have it. And if you find yourself thinking that people who really want financial freedom are somehow shallow, that aggressively building wealth is somehow selfish, that file is still running. And it might be the most expensive line of code you'll never delete.